welcome to a podcast.
Our guest today started as our go-to dog trainers for deity dogs who needed to brush up on their manners, decompress in a structured environment, or work on their behavior. Ultimately, they became a significant part of our rescue family. Though more than 50 deity dogs have spent time with K9 Kommittee to work on balancing their energy and behavior, the biggest impact Jamal and Ali have made is on us. They stress the importance of structure and boundaries for a healthy, successful life and how humans' energy makes a giant impact on the environment around them. Jamal and Ali are both partners in life and business as owners of K9 Kommittee and dive deep into both dog and human psychology to create a balanced and strong relationship between a dog and their handler. Welcome, Ali and Jamal.
Hey.
And Jomas. Oh my God, he's going to sit right here.
I was hoping he would.
This is gorgeous.
Oh, that's cute.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you guys so much for being here and for bringing my boyfriend along.
We'll talk about Jomas later. But first, I want to know how you both came to love dogs, how dogs became a part of your life.
Well, me personally, I was always that kid. I used to get in trouble for bringing a bunch of dogs home. I used to bring stray dogs home. I'm talking about like a lot. So I had a whole backyard full of dogs. And then I see another one roaming the streets. I take my belt off, use it as a leash and bring them home. So I always had a love for dogs and just animals in general, but dogs is like my number one animal.
Did you always have an instinct to guide their behavior, or was it just like a connection you had with dogs? Was there a time where you were just like baby talking and scratching their bellies?
No.
No, okay. I'm just wondering if there was ever a time.
I mean, yes, there's a time for that, but I was never
I understand what you're saying. Like, there's a reason that he's sitting right here.
Right.
Yeah.
Side note, Jamal is always trying to teach us that the way to get these guys to do what we want them to do is not to baby talk them, which is something that I'm very guilty of.
I know.
Yeah, you want to build trust with the dog.
Yeah, he trusts us. See?
Look, he trusts me very much.
Ali, how about you?
Well, I brought stray animals home too when I was a little kid, there's no doubt. And I grew up on my grandfather's farm. So we had farm dogs and I would try to keep them clean. So I would take them down to the big drinking place for the cows.
Okay.
And I would give them a bath.
Aww.
And maybe I should have been a groomer. I don't know.
Well, maybe people were dropping their animals off at the farm for you to groom them.
But yeah, and then when I worked in the corporate world, I advocated for dogs and foster dogs for many years. And that was where my love of bully breeds came from. So
Something we all share sitting here.
I had a really good friend who knew a lot about pitties and helped me understand the stigma attached to them, and the stereotype with bully breeds in general was just not reality.
And you grew up in Arkansas primarily.
And Utah.
Was the energy around bully breeds the same there as you've noticed here in California?
The energy around dogs when I grew up, and I'm a Gen Xer, so life was different. The energy around dogs in rural communities, honestly, it's a lot of what we still unfortunately see and try and fix is dogs in some households are treated like farm dogs. They live on the farm and they sleep outside, and there's just a different mentality and mindset around dogs. I think a lot of that's changed. I mean, dogs have become an important part of our communities, or our families, of our lives, a very important part. And so I think that it's a little bit different now, but yeah, it was a lot different when I grew up that way. But pit bulls, all the big bully breeds, Cane Corsos, they're normal dogs. There wasn't like, oh my gosh, that's this kind of a dog, like people think now.
Yeah. Well, back then, it was the Rottweilers. I grew up thinking we're being told that we're the guard dogs, the dogs that you had to be nervous around. And then at some point it did shift to the pit bulls, and in a big way.
In a bad way.
Yeah.
Pit bulls, it seems like, have gotten the wrath of everyone, because if all of the dog bites were actually reported, you wouldn't see like, oh, every dog that is reported biting someone seems to be a pit bull. There's a stigma attached to it. And so
I've been bitten by a few dogs and none of them have been pit bulls.
there you go.
What about you?
Which dogs bit you?
I've had a couple of Chihuahua bites.
Them's like the number one.
The number one.
Yeah, Chihuahuas are quick to use their mouth, but I still love them just the same.
If you think about it, like the most popular breed that everybody's getting, that's the dog that's doing the most biting.
Yeah.
So it's not about the breed, it's people. Like if they show like a movie right now about bloodhounds or something, and then they show the bloodhounds being aggressive, everybody gonna want one. Then they take them in the backyard doing all kind of stuff to make them aggressive. Then I guarantee you have a lot of bloodhound bites. I'm a Gen X too, so once upon a time it was German Shepherds and Dobermans also, because they had that movie, the Doberman Gang, then the Rottweilers and the Pit Bulls. And the crazy part about it, way back in the 80s when they had this bad reputation, especially the Pit Bulls, when you walk down the street, people cross the street because they were scared of them.
They still do that.
But not as much, because now you got people wanting to pet them. But now if you pay attention, it changed, because first everybody wanted to pet the small dogs back in the 80s and stuff, in the early 90s, and cross the street when they see pit bulls and stuff. But now when you see people, you walk in a small dog, they be like, oh, that dog is going to act up. They cross the street and want to pet your pit bull now.
Yeah.
So that shows you as humans is the one that's doing this.
I know that something with K9 Kommittee is that all dogs are good dogs. And I think that's
100%.
really true, especially in what you were just saying. It's not because of their breed that they're acting any specific way. It's because of the trends. It's the way that people treat them. It's the way that they're viewed on the street or whatever. So have you noticed in training or being a behavioralist or dog psychologist that there is any difference in any brain of any breed of any dog, or is a dog a dog?
Well, in general, dogs is dogs, but certain breeds are bred to do certain things, like bulldogs and Rottweilers and stuff like they're more headstrong.
Yes, they are.
But at the end of the day, they are dogs. They need leadership and guidance. Whoever's going to be in charge have to be more of a stronger leader. Then you might have to be a more strong leader with a Rottweiler than with a Golden Retriever.
Sure.
And it depends on what do you want out of your dog. Like if you have a Golden Retriever, it's easy to teach that dog to play fetch because it's in their blood to retrieve. But now you have a Akita, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, So the breed does matter to a certain degree, but at the end of the day, they are dogs.
So the breed matters more in their needs and what their most fulfilling life
inherent
goals
similarities.
Yes.
Right. So like having a German Shepherd, it's not that a German Shepherd is a bad dog. It's that a German Shepherd has a need to be mentally stimulated and exercise a lot. So if you put them in an environment where they don't get those things that they need, then you can see a dog acting out.
Yes. It's just, they need to burn that energy. You need to fulfill them. It's like them Belgian Malinois. Everybody wants to get one now them dogs is like, you have to do something with them. Them dogs need to be
That's why
worked.
they're police dogs.
They're missiles.
You can't get one of them dogs and live in an apartment and just expect that dog is you have a weapon.
Wear a sweater
and
feel good.
And then if the dog act out because you're not fulfilling it, now you got an aggressive dog. And then they're gonna, So yeah.
I'm gonna keep making jokes and see when Jamal laughs about it.
I just did.
What do
We have this group text going, the four of us, and Ali, Lindsay, and I will just go all day long, and then something funny will be said, and then all of a sudden Jamal will
he'll pop in.
with
that's like
or sometimes maybe if it's someone's birthday, sometimes you send a little emoji or something.
Yeah.
But we wait. We're like, Lindsay and I'll be like, do you think Jamal was
Then we'll side text and we'll be like, did Jamal just send a
see
heart?
some probably like once a year, huh?
Yeah, maybe on our birthdays.
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
I get so excited. We're like, there he is. He's watching. We knew he was.
I'm always watching. And sometimes I'll be ready to send something like, no, they're waiting for me to do this.
See, now we're telling you our secrets.
But every dog is different, though. When dogs come to us, they're different. It doesn't matter if they're in the same house. We have lots of sibling dogs. Every dog is different, and we have to evaluate them and look at what their needs are, what motivates them. Different dogs get motivated by different things. Some dogs that live in the same house are motivated by food, and others are motivated by toys. Some are motivated by affection. So you have to drill down and figure out what motivates them.
And that can be true if they're two different breeds, or if they are two different ages, or even, I mean,
or the same breed.
Litter mates, but even if they were litter mates, two litter mates can have different needs.
Well, everybody has their own personality.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't matter what breed. Every dog, every human, like we all are our own people, you know? So you have to treat them as the individuals that they are as well.
Yeah, because I'm glad you say that, because a lot of people don't see it that way.
Yeah.
You know, I had dogs when I was growing up. I had pit bulls. Okay, and that's cool, no, but have you had this one?
Right.
You can't treat other dogs the way you treated your dog. It's different.
Right.
You can't. Well, let me change it. You can't expect from other dogs what you expect from the dog that you had. You know, if the dog was a well-balanced dog and this and that, and it was behaving a certain way, then you get another pit bull, and then you expect your dog to behave exactly like, it's not going to happen.
Right.
I mean, and people do. They expect, and they look at that dog and talk to that dog and talk about that dog as if it's the other dog.
That's so much pressure.
It is. And it brings energy into the situation that isn't really relevant.
Right. That's a good point.
Yes, I want to talk more about energy. With dog training, and it's something that I've noticed a lot because you do a board and train program. So people can send their dogs, and then you work with the dog, and the dog works on their structure, their boundaries, their behavior, but they can't expect that you can then take that dog home and all of these things are going to continue to be the way that they were when you were working with them. So it's 50% the dog, but it's also 50% the human.
It's probably 70% the human.
Oh, would you say 70%?
I say all human.
It's all human.
Yeah, that's me personally. I say all human. Because the thing is, when you bring the dog back, of course, you have to explain to the people, the person, and this is what you do. This is what you do. You know,
review the training.
And dogs is not an appliance. It ain't like you can just take them and fix them like a coffee maker and bring
plug
them back.
them in?
Yeah, and some people think that. You know? And before I even bring a dog to the board and training, take a dog to board and training, I explain to them, like, I go to their house, I talk to them, have a conversation. I can pretty much figure out all what's going on and what they're doing wrong, and I have that conversation with them. And then when we do board and training, and then when I bring them back, this is what you do. Sometimes they keep it up. The majority of the times when they keep up the training and stuff, it's successful.
Yeah.
And then if it's not something like the dog is doing this, the dog is doing that, misbehaving, I ask them questions. I can tell when they're lying. So people have to understand it starts with us. The dog is is a reflection of us. It starts with us. We have to have that structure with the dog. The dog wants to be told what to do, when to do it, how to do it. We're the leaders. And when we humanize dogs, we damage them psychologically and create issues. We humanize them. They're not humans. It's really important that we understand that they're dogs. And once you understand the dog, you have a better relationship with the dog. And it's a way better bond once you understand it. Because if you have a selfish type of attitude, and it's like, it's about me, I want this, I want love, I want hugs, I want this. Okay, but what about the dog?
What the dog needs.
Yeah, and now the dog is resource guarding you, doesn't trust you, and you just have a bad relationship with the dog. So it all starts with us and showing that leadership. And that's what people need to understand.
Yeah.
It's really important that they understand that.
I agree. And I think I've told you this before, because when we first started working with you, that's a common conversation that you would have with us and our fosters and our adopters about the dogs. And it forced me to think about my own life and my own approach as being a dog mom and a human mom and a friend and a daughter and all that stuff. You're like, you know, what you were saying about you need to be the pack leader. Well, okay, that's a whole new concept to me, because although I am the pack leader, I haven't mentally felt like I am a pack leader. And it was a shift for me in life, in relationships, and everything. And now it's so much easier for me to mentally shift into that mode, especially when I need to. But definitely, I think in general now, I act differently than I did before listening to you say that.
Right.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's so true. We spend a lot of time talking to you guys on the phone and checking in about dogs and the progress that that they've made. And each of those conversations generally turns into, well, imagine if this was happening to you. Imagine if you were in the shelter for 3 months and it's loud and it's chaotic and you're transitioning into a new home. How would you feel? What would your brain be doing? What would your body be doing? And you can put yourself in the dog's shoes to see what they would need most, which is where we get into decompression a lot. But I love that, and I don't think I ever expected that dog training would have such a deep impact on like human energy, emotion, how you get on in the world. I think that's just such a neat thing. Is that something that was always innate to you? Like when you started training, were you like, well, this is what would how I would feel?
Okay. I'm going to say something about that because this is real energy. People do not understand the importance of it. A lot of people think of it in terms of or crystals, but true energy, the energy that you need to work with these dogs, in my opinion, is a gift. You either have it or you don't. I don't have the same gift he has. He has really incredible energy, and dogs learn so much from us when we're teaching them, you know, with energy, with our body language, with guiding them and leading them.
Yes.
And I can't tell you how much I've learned from him with his energy, because it helps me be a better person. And using your energy to teach dogs is a really good way to learn about yourself. And I personally, I can just speak for myself, tons of corporate training over my career and learned from a lot of really incredible motivators and leaders. I've learned more from working with dogs than from all of them combined. Energy consists of emotions and intentions. You cannot control those. So it's so important to understand yourself and be honest with yourself about
what you're bringing to the table.
Yeah. And how does that work with my dog? And it goes back to every dog isn't for every person. What do I need as far as my lifestyle is concerned so I can give this dog what it needs?
I mean, that's a place in their brain where I don't think a lot of people even go.
Right.
They're talking about bringing a dog into their home to like add to their family without thinking about what they can provide for this other living being who's now part of their household.
And it also goes back to energy too, because if you're more of a person that don't like to do walks often and you just a couch potato, you don't want to get no husky.
Sure.
You want to get a dog that matches your energy. Some people just see the cuteness. Oh, that's a cute dog. If you're like a real relaxed person, you're going to have to take and do stuff with that dog to get that dog to burn this energy out. And it's not going to work. And vice versa. If you're a athletic person, always like to go on hikes and stuff, you don't want to get no English bulldog.
Sure.
Because them dogs probably take a quarter of a block and it's ready to turn back around.
Yeah.
They have deviated septum.
They can't breathe.
They can't breathe.
Oh, yeah. See?
Yeah.
And they like cookies.
And they like cookies, Jamal. You can really see the energy shift, especially in an environment like this. Like when the dogs come in, granted it's new, they want to smell everything, but the energy is very high. They're ping-ponging, everything is really tense. And then as we kind of start talking, there's a flow in the room, the dogs end up doing this. Yeah. And I think that it's a really clear indication of the energy in the room has changed. Everyone can just kind of relax and how quickly a dog can catch on to that.
Well, and the other thing is again, just talking about the Gen X. I mean, like we're all of us laugh.
Gen X.
You're not. Sometimes I feel like you're honorary because you do know some of the things that she's an old soul.
She does have a more of a soul.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
And she likes Janet Jackson and Alanis.
So
honorary.
Okay.
Gen X. Yeah.
I'll take it.
We'll give you.
But think about the things that you used to do. How did you interact as you were growing up with others? You know?
Yeah.
If you think about your priorities when you're growing up, a lot of us that grew up in that generation, it was kind of the school of hard knocks.
Totally.
And so when you think about, oh, my dog had an accident on, you know, okay, my dog had an accident, not, oh my God, my dog had an accident. And it's like, literally shit happens. Right. You know what I mean? And
Literally.
That's one of those things where if I'm going to get a dog, then I need to know and understand and research and think and meet and talk and learn. And that's okay. It's not a coffee table book.
Right.
Totally. And I think that is another I get very excited about this. Sorry, I feel like I keep cutting you off. But it's something that often comes up in our conversations is not to harp on the past. And accidents is something that comes to mind because we often have adopters who are like, oh, he had an accident. Like, how do I deal with it? And the thing is, like, unless you catch it in the moment, like, you can't. No dog is harping on what they did 5 minutes ago or what happened 2 years ago in their past.
Right.
It's been a really big lesson for being a human being, but also for how to
just keep
interact with.
Like I say, the difference between human emotions and dog emotions. Humans, we dwell on the past and worry about the future. And dogs, they live in the moment. We find a dog that's had a messed up history and
We've had a lot of those.
And then the foster gets in and be like, oh, nothing's going to happen to you no more. The dog is not even thinking about that. You know, when we bring that energy to the dog, and we wonder why the dog is still insecure.
The dog is resource guarding
the dog is still fearful. Is because we just been reinforcing all that.
We're still putting it on them. Like they're past it, but we're like, but remember?
Yes, yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because I
really
feel
important.
like it is so important. And for a long time, I feel like when I first got into rescue, that was something that mentally I was doing. I was putting their past, or maybe I didn't even know what their past was, but I could read them now and I could like get a sense, oh, the dog was beaten or, you know, whatever. But I didn't really have proof of that. And at some point you said, don't put your shit on them. You don't know that that's the truth. So now I try and be more just, you know, when I'm telling the story of a dog, if I'm writing a post or something, I go from facts, what I know.
Facts are real.
Facts are real. And, you know, we can surmise like why the dog became the way the dog is. But you know what? They're living in the moment. They're living in now. Right now, they've been rescued. Right now, they're getting an opportunity as a reset with you guys. And that's where we're going to go. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, that's really important right there. You know, and it's hard sometimes for people because it's the emotion part.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they you know, you see a dog, if they was found somewhere in the alley and they got like, you know,
the stuff,
maggots on them, you know, I have almost barely living and stuff. It's hard for somebody to get in and not feel sorry for it. But if you want to help that dog, you just have to like put that to the side.
Right. It's not what's best for the dog. I mean, we see it in a very specific case with the shelter. Like they've come out of the shelter, they've been in their kennel and it's cold, it's small, it's dark. And we're like, well, that's never going to happen. Here's my huge house. And here's all the toys and all the blankets. And to us, it's like, look, the shelter's in your past and like, here's all the things that you have. But to them, it's like, this is so overwhelming. Like I just
totally
came from this
overwhelming.
and now I'm going to this. Like that, it doesn't serve a positive purpose in the way that humans think that it is because they're dogs.
Well, they're in survival mode in the shelter. The shelter is a place filled with, and I'm talking about from energy,
adrenaline,
toxic, sick, death, stress, anxiety, negativity. There isn't a whole lot of positivity in there. So putting yourself in their perspective, they're in there with their little instincts that they're born with, just trying to survive. And so people see dogs in the shelter, and then when they adopt them from the shelter and get them home, they're a completely different dog.
Right.
Yeah.
Which now you see who they are.
Yeah. And a big thing that we've learned from you guys is decompression. Because like Lindsay was talking about, you pull the dog from this tiny kennel, take them to this wonderful home, and they've got the run of the house, but they shouldn't.
No.
Because they should be decompressing.
You should decompress. And so because you want the dog to start getting used to his environment. If you just take them home, let them roam and everybody getting them treats, it can be overwhelming. Every dog is different. Some dogs can just fall right into it. You know, like, okay, give it to him. And before you know it, the dog is a resource guarding the whole house. He's running the house and you try to tell the dog to get place work and he's nipping at you. Or if the dog is so super fearful and you take him to the house and you're doing all this, giving them treats and trying to he all in his space too much, and then it could become overwhelming to the point to where he reacts in a negative way. He's growling at you. Then they be like, oh, this dog is an aggressive dog. It's just dog just don't know you.
Right.
And you overwhelming them. So dogs only got 4 states of mind: fight, flight, avoid, surrender. So if he goes into fight mode, like you all pressure him, he's growling, he just nip, like lunge a little bit, nip at you. Oh, I can't have this dog here. No, but the dog was telling you this whole time, I'm uncomfortable with you.
Right.
Get away from me. I don't know you like that. So
Warnings.
I tell people all the time, I tell like a lot of people this, don't expect more from your dog than you want from yourself. Because if a stranger just came up to you right now and just get out in your face, you're going to give them all those signs like, get away from me, like smacking them.
Yeah.
I always compare it to a music festival because people of my I don't know what generation letter I am.
You're honorary Gen X.
Music festivals, Gen X.
You go to the music festival, you're there for like 3 days. Everything is crazy. You're like outside of the real world. There's so much noise. There's so many people. And then you go home and someone's like, let's go to the bar tonight. And you're like, absolutely not. Like my brain cannot take it. I've got to sit in a quiet, dark room and just like decompress. That's the human experience of leaving the shelter that I can relate to.
Totally.
So I think that I just see these dogs leaving these music festivals. Like,
we call them concerts.
Okay,
Yeah.
concert.
Music festival.
Lollapalooza, Lilith Fair.
Concert.
Okay, so there's my age, I guess. I don't know.
No, that's just that extra.
Yeah, it's a little extra. Well, it's like 30. I'm talking about a 3-day concert.
Yeah, we call them concerts.
Oh, I didn't know.
Well,
There were like 30 bands.
yes. Yeah, exactly.
You got a wristband.
Okay, yes, they're the same. They're the same.
But
You're
what
right.
you're saying is true. And I was never like a proponent of crates until now. But now I get it. Like if you wanted to put a dog bed in the crate and then lock me in there for a couple of days to decompress with like another blanket over top of it, I might be very happy.
Yes.
Especially when you're coming off of going to the shelter, running the kennels, just something very stressful. And
One day in rescue.
One day in rescue.
That's all.
300 emails of final pleas of dogs from every city and county shelter.
And turn the lights off.
And take my phone away from me, please.
Totally.
Yeah.
What does a crate serve in dog training, transition, decompression?
Well, it serves different things. That's the dog little safe spot. And then it's the area where they can go and just relax. And sometimes the dogs don't want to be bothered with us too. We got to keep in mind, people overwhelm their dogs. Sometimes the dogs just walk away from us. So you want that spot to be like where the dog can get away and just relax and chill, you know? And I always say that the important thing about when you bring a dog home, put them in the crate is because you don't want to get the dog all that space. Because if you let the dog roam the house, there's so much stuff can happen. Negative things can happen about your dog roaming the house. Even separation anxiety. The dog is following you around the house and then you petting the dog all the time. You go in the kitchen, dog's in the kitchen. Then when you decide to put it in the crate, now that's the issue. So you want to get the dog used to the crate first. And then once the dog get used to the crate, the dog has to earn more and more space of the house. He has to earn it. Because if you're going to have your dog under control in the crate, you're not going to have him under control in the house because your house is a bigger version of the crate. Because if you let him out of the crate every time he whines and let him roam around the house, okay, let him do that for about a week. And then you go outside, you go to the store and leave him in the house. He's going to behave in that house the same way he behaved in the crate. Your curtains going to be like just going to be tore down. Your blinds, and you're going to chew through your wall, chew through your wall. So I always tell people like even like I tell people this all the time. Like when I used to go to my grandma's house, she had this little front yard, and then when I come visit her for the summertime, she used to always tell me, "Stay right here. I can keep an eye on you." Keep an eye. I was like, "This is boring. I didn't want to be in that little yard. You know, I'm a kid." And then in time, she let me go down the street and play with the kids. And then in time, I can go off the block, and then I can go spend the night. Then I can go to see. I had to earn all that.
Grandma knew how to do it.
So imagine if she would allow me just to roam the streets and stuff like that first, and then tell me to stay home in the yard. I would have had anxiety. I would have been hopping the fence and misbehaving.
Totally.
So it's their safe spot, you know. And when they're in that crate decompressing, or if they're in there just don't want to be bothered, it's good not to just go in there bothering them. Because if he's in there and you got company coming over bothering him, it's not his safe space. It's not a safe space. He's doing this for the camera. You gotta set him up.
This whole thing,
You guys trying to get
I
me to-
whispered it in his ear when he walked in. I said, "This is your moment."
He found a way to snuggle.
Yeah.
Well, this is
See,
essentially
he forced his way up. Go ahead.
Yeah.
this is essentially this boy. You know,
He needs a home.
he needs a home. And just a little background on this boy. Lindsay and I, this summer, it was exceptionally hot. There was a heat
It was
wave.
exceptionally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a
puppy
desert
eyes.
shelter who we've worked with for years now. And we had reached out to her about ice, and they're just as overwhelmed as any other shelter around here. And we went out there and took ice, and Jomas was with two other dogs, two other pit bulls in what was supposed to be a play yard, but they had turned it into a place to kennel them because they had so many dogs. So we walk in, we roll the ice in, and those three were the first recipients of the ice. And the animal control officer filled up the big trough of water, and he put the ice in there for them. And the three of them just had the best time.
Oh, can you
Jomas
imagine?
specifically.
Yeah, he loves dogs, that's for sure.
He does love dogs and he loves ice.
And speaking of energy, like there was just something about him. And I think you knew from the beginning, I just had this thing for this dog. And lo and behold, which was like a miracle in itself, the two other dogs in the kennel with him got adopted together.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
That's cool.
So when we came back the next week, he was alone.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they were getting picked up that day, but he was
gonna be alone.
He was going to be alone. And I was like, okay, this dog has been here for a long time and it's hot and he's outside and he's black and he's a good dog friendly boy. We got to get him out of here. So that's how Jomas came.
I remember when you went back to get him.
Yeah. I couldn't sleep the night before.
Yeah.
Like my father would say, no, that's a dog.
It's a dog.
That's a
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah. He's got really good energy.
He's got really cool energy.
Yeah.
He's a good go with the flow kind
Right.
of guy. He's young. He's energetic. He wants to be involved.
I'm blown away that he hasn't been adopted because he's really friendly with other dogs.
Yeah.
And that's a huge plus.
Yeah.
Not all dogs are like that. They might be tolerant, but there are very few dogs that are just like, hey, to every
Right.
dog that comes along.
Hey.
Now he was a little rough around the edges. He never really had any basic training. So actually he was in foster. He had a wonderful foster home. They're away on vacation now. And initially I reached out because he was a jumper and we really wanted to get him settled in correctly. They had another dog, a sweet little husky. And being that, you know, we didn't know where he came from. He had no training, just wanted to make it a smooth transition. And Jamal, it was a Saturday or a Sunday, and you came out and spent a couple of hours with the Fosters and meeting him and assessing him and got him comfortable in the crate, which was a game changer for them.
Just to bring it back to the convo that we had, imagine going from being in the shelter for as long as he was in a crate to then going to this house that was like had this gorgeous huge backyard and another dog and like all these sofas.
Beautiful sofas.
Beautiful sofas. But Jomas was like, wait, what? So when Jamal came and introduced the crate, I think that it kind of shifted something in his brain, being like, I don't have to take over this whole house. Like, I've got my spot.
Yeah, it felt good.
Yeah.
It's like their own room. I mean,
Yeah.
imagine if we didn't have a place to lay our head in our own safe space in our room.
Oh, I don't like to imagine that. I love my bed.
That's what I'm saying. That's what they need. They need a spot, a place. And what we've seen a lot with dogs is they may not have to use the crate for their whole entire life, but for the beginning of it and setting these boundaries, rules, limitations, trust, respect, all of the things, it's such a good tool so that they feel safe while they're learning.
Yeah.
And also, even in the future, once you get the dog conditioned to the crate, It's good, even if you don't use it every day or something, like once the dog will know all the rules and boundaries in the house, it's still good to put them in a crate for maybe an hour or two a day, just so they won't start like
to maintain it.
To maintain it, because you never know. You might have family members who's coming over and you don't want your dog roaming, so you might want to put them in a crate. Just
Sure.
Or your dog can be going to somebody else's house or some family members where they want to take care of your dog. And you're just like, okay, you put them in a crate, you might have to transport them in a crate. You don't want to have no problems with the crate.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
keep
putting
the
them in
skill on their resume.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And even though today he's being a little spoiled up here, and I can see Jamal's like,
No, he's good. Look at him.
he really is.
Because he's calm. It's good to give him affection when he's calm like this.
He
It's no
is.
problem.
Like two hands on him at
Right.
all times.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
we have
good.
to
But
stop
if he was all
touching him.
excited or something, you got to doing this, then I'll have to probably say cut.
You're rewarding that excitement. stuff.
Ladies, chill.
But at this point, which is another major selling point for my boyfriend here, he has spent a couple of weeks with you guys now and does know his basic training, his basic commands. And even Jamal, this is another Jamal-ism that I love. Jamal, and he doesn't say this about every dog, only some. He'll be like, yeah, that's a good dog.
He says that's a cool dog.
That's a cool dog.
That's a cool dog.
I like him. He's a cool dog. And on the way up the stairs today,
I said it.
you said it.
I said it.
He's a simple. He's a simple dog. Yeah, that's it.
He's good on a leash. He likes his walks, right? And he's learning not to jump, because when you're a smaller person and he jumps, like,
He can knock you down.
he's good if he wanted to.
Impulse control, when a dog has never had any kind of boundaries, we see a lot of those dogs that have never had any kind of training or have lived in a home environment where there was some limitation for them. A lot of those dogs have major impulse control. You can always tell the jumping and lunging and just they don't know what a stop sign is.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, this is pretty similar to somebody's house. Like you see how he's behaving. He doesn't have no anxiety or nothing like that. So that's
He's a couch potato.
Yeah,
That's what his foster mom
yeah.
kept saying. Like they watched a lot of movies together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He knows the value of a cozy spot.
Exactly. Exactly. And another great thing about him now is that he always has you guys like in his back pocket for wherever he ends up, if they have any kind of questions or, this dog now. So
Yeah, he has his Uncle Jamal and his Aunt Ali.
yeah.
Decompression, it just shows you even the shift from being in foster to coming to K9 Kommittee. Like when we take on clients, board and trained clients, there's a reason why we won't take short little times because it's pointless. They're not going to learn anything. If they're coming for 3 days of training, they're going to decompress and then time to go.
Right.
So maybe they got some new experiences in a different environment, but it's not the same thing as learning about all the practices, the threshold work. And then all the dogs learn treadmill. So
he's good on the treadmill.
the treadmill is more about mental work than physical, because you have mental exercise and physical exercise, and everybody needs both to have balance, right?
Yeah, right.
That's
So-
like my step class. I have to remember. I do.
That is mental also.
I have to remember what's going to be cued next. So you had mentioned something about Jamal's energy, how it's different. And I'm just curious, what exactly do you mean by that?
Well, everybody has different energy, right? Because we're all different. And again, it's knowing yourself, okay? People that are really dialed in with who they are as an individual, it's like, I know my limitations, I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses, I know who I am. And when you are in that state of mind, like when you get to that place, wherever that may be, for everybody's different again, you become confident. And not arrogant, confident. And you just live your life. You're not worried about what someone else says about you. You're not worried about what somebody might think. You're doing your life in a confident, balanced way. It's like a goal. And so he's like that. He knows himself. He knows who he is. He's very comfortable with himself. When you really know yourself and you have whatever your values and standards and all of those things are, and that's how you live every day. That's what you do. When you get up, it's just That's who you are and how you live. And dogs love that. When we have toxic lives that are filled with anxiety and stress, that a lot of that we put on ourselves, it upsets the apple cart of the household. Whether you have children or whether you just have dogs or whether you live alone, whether you live with roommates, it doesn't matter. Our energy impacts everything and everyone around us. And I've learned so many lessons from that because I like lists, I like numbers, I like yeah, oh yeah. No, I'm bothered when we get out of order.
You're a banker.
yeah. But when you learn that about yourself and okay, all right. And so we joke around about the fact that which I heard you guys talk about the other day, which makes me laugh. He's brakes and I'm gas. Yeah. I want you to think about that. You're brakes and she's gas. But think about personalities, a very driven, high functioning personality. I'm gas and he's brakes. Yeah. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's like when you know yourself and know that, like, and then you're like, oh, okay, I caught myself. I gotta like dial that back or whatever. And yeah.
Haven't considered dialing it back before.
No, I'm just talking about, for me, it's like, oh, we've got to do this. We've got this and this is, we've got to go pick up this dog. We've got to go it's because it's like that all day for me.
Right.
Because I'm on the phone talking to clients and scheduling things and dealing with all these different little things. And so then when I really
there's like a human being behind your list who's doing all the things you told him to do.
Right. So that's an energy check. And it used to be he'd be so nice about it. Now he's just like,
he'd be like, I'm tired.
I need food.
I just got back.
Please work in a little lunch.
You got to think about driving through LA. Come on now. That's a mental exercise itself.
Yes.
And that's like, oh man, you guys experience it.
Yeah.
And you go in different places. It's been times where I leave about like 7 a.m, and for some reason I get back home, I'm there 7 p.m, and I only been to like 2 training assessments or something. Like, how did all this happen? Like, where all the time go? It's LA traffic.
Happened.
We need to put
How did we get here?
Yeah, it's that slow traffic. It's like, man, no way around that. That's like, man.
Well, that's why you guys don't live in LA, but now you have to travel to LA every day.
I might as well just live out here. How much
LA adjacent.
You're more humane. That's where you are.
But the reality is, it goes back to that importance of energy with everything we do, with everyone we interact with. You just have to slow down. And seeing the difference in dogs with calm, confident energy versus anxiety ridden, toxic type energy, there's like a physical difference. Aside from the behavior part, like you can just look at them and see. There's this little meme that shows what happens as we pass our stress off onto our dogs. And it's talking about energy, and it's talking about how when we're feeling stressed or when we are having a lot of anxiety or we're sad, whatever, let's say balance is here and our emotions are up here anywhere in this part, like go for a walk, like go take a breath, go sit down and have a drink. You know what I mean?
Apple juice.
Of course she's talking about apple juice.
Or whatever. Yeah, if you take that 5 minutes, it's going to be a game changer for the next 4 hours.
Yeah, and you're not putting it on your dog.
No, the dog doesn't listen or respond to that type of energy. Like if you're stressed out or you're angry, you're trying to get your dog to do something, it's not going to listen. The dog sees you as being unstable. You know what I'm saying? You got to be calm and confident. We see this all the time. Somebody chasing their dog. Get over here. Get over here. That dog ain't coming to them. Them dogs keep looking at you like you crazy and keep running because you're an
unstable person.
Yeah, you're an unstable person. So that you have to be calm and confident working with your dog. They don't listen or respect anything that's unstable. Only species that follow something unstable, we already know, is the human species.
Yeah.
Yikes.
See, I love this. It's always such a good therapy session. And it's like,
me and Ellen are going to board and train.
Yeah, we're going to board and train. We want calm, confident energy, and I definitely need structure and boundaries.
And we want to
the dogs help me help them, because I'm not just helping the dogs, they helping me help them. because I got to keep myself in check even in order to do this. It's a little difficult for some other people and stuff, but everybody's energy is different. But trust me, I have my days. I got to sit there, I got to take a breath. I got to just like, okay, I got this. Let me go ahead and handle this and do what I got to do to get this dog right and stuff. So people that have dogs with a lot of issues, it's pretty much a reflection of them. It really is them.
That's the honest truth. And but you know what? That's okay. Because once you discover that, let's fix it. Do you know what? Let's work on it together. And one of his mentors, Leah Marquez, she says you get what you pet. And it's true. It's so true. If your dog's excited all the time and that's when you're giving them all the affection, then you're going to have an excited dog because that's what you're rewarding. If your dog is scared, fearful, and shaking, and it's okay, and you pet it. Well, you're telling that dog, yes, feel like that.
Have you noticed like when kids is learning, babies just first learning how to walk, when they get off balance and they fall on their butt, the baby's not even hurt until the adults be like, oh, do all that, and then the baby start looking around, then the baby starts crying.
Damn,
so
that
we just
did hurt. Wait, I can get attention if it hurts.
Yeah, and then we did that. We did that. So that's what we do with the dogs. Like how she was just saying, if the dog is fearful, like you pet what you get. If the dog's fearful, you start petting them, and you just reinforce them. You tell them that something's wrong. So
I love that.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
And I can totally put that towards my little pack too.
Here's the other thing too. This is really cool because I was talking to one of your adopters about their cute little Chihuahua that comes to us. And she was a little pill when she first got her. She was very fearful and had to learn confidence. We were having this conversation about all of this stuff. And she said, the one thing that you told me that stuck with me and made me work through this is that sometimes you don't get the dog you want, you get the dog you need.
Ooh, that gave me chills.
Yeah, because it forced her to look at herself.
Yeah.
And work through the issues that she had that she was projecting onto her dog and creating a lot of unnecessary crazy for herself.
Yes.
Oh my God, she's running around the house. Okay, let's talk about why she's doing that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Instead of, oh, how could you run around the house? Let's figure out, okay, did we go for a walk? Did we ever limit in the house where she could run around? You know what I mean? Just like
she's feeling insecure because it's a big space and she's asking for a small space.
Yeah. So it makes us feel really good. Like we'll have conversations. Guess what just happened? Because when people get it and you can see it, the light go on or see it click with them and they start to change things and do things and take the initiative to, oh, you know what? And we'll get the most amazing texts from adopters and even fosters. Guess what? We are doing this and we get this video and it's the best. It's the best.
That's so cool.
It's really satisfying. It's how you feel when dogs get adopted. It's like when you know that you got them from here to here. Now it's their job to take this precious cargo and, do the right things.
Totally.
Do the right things.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I know that after people watch this, they're going to be dying to chat more with you guys. And maybe their dogs are going to have to come visit. How can people find you?
Well, our primary thing is to work with rescues and their clients. So if they have a dog that they adopted from you, then they have them reach out.
Cool. What's your Instagram?
It's at K9 Kommittee
with a K.
Like right here.
Oh yeah. Yeah, at K9 Kommittee.
Amazing.
So,
well,
there's a few
of
those deity dogs on there you'll see.
Yeah.
That's right. Including this one.
Including this boy.
He's tired. Well, thank you so much for being here. And thank you for the life lessons and helping our dogs become their best selves.
Well, and thanks to you for all the work that you do to save dogs, rescue dogs, help and support the rescue. We're trying to do our little part. Everybody has to do something to create a positive, happy, balanced society. And so we're really grateful to all of the people that foster and adopt.
Yeah, we're grateful to you.
You guys do so much. Thank you so much.